Welcome to the Comstock channel. My name is Brian Hendrickson. Today I have Iowa Appraisal Vice President of Agricultural Appraisals, Jim Rothermitch, with us today. Welcome, welcome.
Oh, well, thank you for having me today, Brianne.
Thank you for being on. I know times are always busy and it's not always easy to sit down, so I appreciate you sitting down with us. Um, to start us off, why don't you just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and what all you do?
Well, I live in West Des Moines, and I am I'm married to my wife Brenda, and we've got 3 kids and 7 grandkids, and so I'm a farm real estate appraiser for Iowa Appraisal, and we are a commercial and ag appraisal firm, and our parent company is BCC Advisors, and they do business valuations, litigation support, and mergers and acquisitions. So we all work under in the same building, but I'm working from home since COVID. So one thing that's unique about me is I keep track of all the land auctions in Iowa, and I report those on a daily basis, those results. And I stay current on those auctions. And so I do a lot of social media posts. My Twitter handles is the Land Talker, and I do a lot of posts on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And so I've been appraising for 16 years, and I've been in Iowa since 2010 doing farm appraisals. I'm originally from Missouri. I grew up in a small town in central Missouri called Avaz, Missouri, which is just north of Fulton, Missouri, just by Columbia, Missouri. And I grew up on a livestock and grain farm there. So um, at the start of my career, I was in the hog business. I worked for Smithfield Foods for some time, managing sow farms, and worked for Gatlon Grain, doing elevator operations and Stein Seed for a short time, and now I'm on my the appraisal career that's been going on for a long time. I expect to retire at this with this career. Um, so anyway, that's a little bit about me, just real short.
So, I asked you to be on today to talk about your perspective on farmland values and how they will change in the future. So, that kind of takes me into my first true question. What can you provide, or what kind of overview of the current state of farmland values and trends in your region and area?
Sure, sure. Yep, yep. No, I cover all of Iowa, so like I said, I keep track of all the land auctions in Iowa. So we've had a fairly active auction market this year. Looking at my data, we've sold about 85,000 acres at auction up from year to date. And so as I compare that with the previous years, I started keeping track in 2017. Um, the volume of land going to auction is going to come in at about third place. And so what my data suggests that when I run the analysis, we're running here in Iowa, we keep dollars per CSR 2 point. It's running between 170 and $180 per point, which is on a per acre basis. It's running between $13,000 and $14,000 an acre, and that's on tillable acres. I'm not talking about the other land. That's just pure tillable acres. And so when I do that analysis, I take out the non-crop land out of that analysis. So the peak was in May of 2022, and that was like $185 a point. And so the market just kind of cooled off a little bit after May of 2022, and then we're kind of in a flat trend right now. So it's the market's just below the peak. It's running very steady. What I am starting to notice with the land auctions is lower quality farms, but we're getting a few no sales. I'm starting to see an uptick in that. So I'll go ahead and say it. Lower quality farms are starting to be discounted in this market, but the good quality is just steaming right along, and very strong market. And these dry years like this year, that's when those high quality farms shine because they produce in a dry year. And that's everything right there. So that's kind of just a synopsis of what's happening here in Iowa right now.
What are some key factors that you think have historically influenced farmland values and how they've evolved over time?
Right now, the biggest influence that I feel is the amount of cash that's out in the countryside. When we had COVID, the government plugged the money supply full of money. And the M1 money supply I've heard has increased 4 times since COVID. I don't know if that's true or not, but my point is it really doesn't matter. My point is the government plugged the system full of money. Okay, so now um, there's farmers flushed with cash, and so we're not seeing that big decline in land prices because corn prices have fell off. Corn's below $5 right now. Um, the last time we had a run up in land prices, when corn prices went down, the market declined 20 to 25%. Well, we're not seeing that right now. It's because there's so much cash in the system right now. And so it's not letting those land prices readjust because of corn prices. So that's right now what I think is going on in the market. Before COVID, corn prices had a huge effect. It just come down to net farm income. If corn prices were high and the yields were high, good or whatever, that the land prices responded. And they went down when corn prices went down, but it's not happening right now.
So, short term and long term, what are some primary drivers of changes in the farmland value from your perspective?
For a short term, you know, grain prices matter. I mean, I'm not saying that doesn't matter anymore, but that has a big factor, and the perception going forward of what grain prices are going to be matters. And so that affects land values. And like right now, short term, I've collected some cash rental auction data, and those cash rents are very strong. So in a short term, I don't see anything changing as far as land prices. I just do not think in the short term we're going to see that 20 to 25% decline in land prices. I think it's either going to be steady or maybe go down just a percent or two, just single digit decreases at the most. Long term, when I see the way I look at this is the amount of people that want to buy farmland that do not farm. We have had an increase since COVID of people that do not farm want to buy farmland. So as I look at that, that tells me they've done their homework and they think farmland's going to be a good investment going forward. And that's what I see going forward. In the long term, farmland over time is going to be a good investment, as good or better than ever before.
Are there any unique or kind of regional factors that can significantly impact farmland values that people might not always be aware of? Kind of being those new people coming in with wanting to buy farmland and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. The areas in Iowa counties that are strong in livestock production, those prices tend to be higher than other places, other counties in the state that do not have those huge amounts of hogs or cattle or dairy farms. That's a big driver. And another thing here in Iowa, what I notice is, say, like there's certain areas that have, cultural, what do I want to say, there's, say, like in areas where there's a lot of Dutchmen, for example, like Marion County around Pella, Iowa, or up there around Orange City, Iowa. there's a lot of Dutch heritage up there, and the land never comes up for sale. And when they do come up for sale, those Dutch guys who are typically conservative will throw dollars like they've never seen before. And so we'll see just some outrageous prices. I'm not just saying it's just limited to Dutch, but I'm just using that as an example. But they will let go of those dollars when a good farm comes up for sale. There's no doubt about it, and they're the only ones that can compete with that, and they're paying cash. Um, so that's kind of what you got to pay attention to here in Iowa.
How do you see, or how have you seen technology such as precision agriculture and data analytics influence farmland value and management practices throughout the years?
Well, I think productivity right now has went up so much um, that it is affecting land prices because as technology gets better, the cost per bushel for an acre of land, if you analyze it on a per bushel basis, that's going down. And so they might be paying more on a, input costs more on a per acre basis. But for the increases in yield and the new technology that we have, the cost per bushel is going down at a rate like we've never seen before. So as that technology progresses, it's added into those land prices. It definitely is. It's a huge difference, and it's changed a lot in maybe the past 5 to 10 years.
I know that you're just in Iowa, so you can just talk that state, or maybe you've seen it throughout other states. But the impact of government policies and subsidies and regulations on farmland values and their potential changes in the future. What all have you kind of seen in that area?
Well, I think as I listen to, they're talking about the new farm bill going up on the acres of CRP. If that happens, which it probably will, those acres that are not in CRP adds more value to those CRP acres. Um, so I see that definitely has an effect, and so um, those government payments that was a lot of what happened on the run up here since COVID is those CFAP payments, and there was several payments that farmers got that just filled their bank accounts up and drove the land prices. So it made those government payments make a difference. And that as CRP gets expanded, those acres that are still being farmed, the value of those go up.
With increasing alternative farming methods like vertical farming, aquaponics, have you or do you foresee these innovations impacting the traditional farmland values and uses?
Right now, the biggest thing that I hear about is organic farming here in Iowa. I've watched some of those farms that are organic go to auction, and right now I don't see a premium to those land values when they go to auction. But it's gaining in popularity. There's no question about that. Um, so the market maybe doesn't recognize that now, but I would say in the future it probably could, um, as that gains popularity. And I think that organic farming is growing every year. So I could see it being more showing up at a land auction as the popularity of it goes up.
Are there any upcoming trends or developments that you believe will be particularly influential in determining the future direction of all these farmland values?
Right now, what concerns me is what's going on over the Middle East. If we break out in war over there, I have a feeling that oil prices are going to shoot up and grain prices will fall. And that could potentially give us another run up in land prices. So that's one thing I'm paying attention to. However, that the farm bill works out, that's being discussed in Congress right now. how much of payments will those farmers get? Because those payments go right to land values, basically, is what happens. So that will have an effect.
With everything that we've discussed and hit on, what is your personal outlook for the future of farmland values? And are there any specific scenarios or trends you're anticipating? And overall, how do you feel about everything?
Yeah, well, sure. I am very positive about the future of land and farming, especially here in the I states, where you don't need irrigation. Um, I'm hearing out west that irrigation is being limited. And so those farms that don't need irrigation, I think, are really going to be valuable, even more so than today. And and so as the population grows, and more land is taken out of production, it just puts more pressure on these acres here in the I states or even the surrounding the mid. I just want to say the Midwest, that land and the scarcity of good crop producing land is really a big deal, and it's that the scarcity is going up, and so will those prices. So I think it's as good a time to buy farm ground if you can afford it as any time.
What advice do you have to offer to farmers, landowners, and potential investors looking to navigate the changing landscape of farmland values successfully?
Do your homework, do your due diligence, get as much information as you can. One thing that I do notice watching land auctions over the past several years, there's times when a farm will sell light, and there's an opportunity to buy for an investor or whoever. And if they do their homework, they'll find those. And so there's opportunities there. You just got to do your due diligence. I will tell you, a couple of recent land sale prices. In Iowa, Sioux County produces some of the highest land prices in Iowa. November 10th of 2022, we had 74 acres sell for $30,000 an acre. That was the highest price at that time in the Midwest that I knew of. And then it was last month that 115 acres in Saline County, Missouri, near Malta Bend, Missouri, very high quality farm ground in Missouri. That 115 acres sold for $34,800 an acre. So that's the new record that I know of. So that's an example of that farm that was land that had no chance for development. It was bought by a farmer, and the runner-up bidder was a farmer. So that's an example of the scarcity of farm ground and what people put a value on. Yeah, that sale price is an outlier, no question about that. But that just goes to show you a scarcity of good farmland. And so, another question I get is how many of these farms are being purchased by Chinese government or whoever, anybody Chinese. I don't know. Aaron, Iowa, I don't know of any. I have not talked to one auctioneer when I confirmed those auction results, told me a Chinese firm or whoever bought a farm. I don't know of any of it here in Iowa. I hear it's might be out on the West Coast in California, but I can't say that for sure. But here in Iowa, we don't have any problems with the farms are mostly bought by farmers. That's just all there is to it.
Do you ever worry, or now do you worry more, seeing people A, coming from the city buying farmland, B, seeing people want to turn those into subdivisions and things like that? Do you ever worry about, like you said, the scarcity of
Yeah,
farmland?
right. Sure. Well, living here in West Des Moines, Des Moines is growing west, and there's a lot of good farm ground getting gobbled up with development. What concerns me is we take this good cropland out of production, those acres that are still in production have to produce more. And will we have the technology for those corn yields to get up high enough to make up that difference? or the soybean yields. That's, my concern is will technology keep up with that? So far it has, but going in the future, I don't know. And there's a lot of farm ground getting taken up with solar panels right now. Taken up. I've heard several solar farms that's going to take over 1,000 acres of good cropland out of production. So as the government subsidizes some of these green energy projects, it's rapidly increasing the amount of land getting taken out of production. So technology's got to cover up for that. So I'm worried about, will they be able to keep up? One thing I'm also worried about is, livestock facilities. I worry about regulations putting those guys out of business. With Prop 12 out in California, that really is a bad deal for Iowa pig farmers in general. And I could see it getting, to other livestock operations, cattle or dairy or whatever, and just really upsetting the apple cart. So that's something that worries me too.
All right, that'll do it for this episode. Thanks for coming on today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brianne.
Want more premium content? Subscribe to the Comstock Report, where you will receive 2 reports daily. Want more video content? We are on Facebook, YouTube, and now TikTok. So don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.